Another month, another pouchie, unpouched, another pouchie.
I had a mouthful of vape.
You didn't tell that, there is a countdown. It's really easy to tell because it literally counts down from 30.
I can't count to 30. It's no good.
Oh, you can only manage 9 after double digits. It gets confusing.
Oh, well, that was a nice hello. Hello, everybody.
How's everyone doing? So we're back for another month, another Unpouched. We're joined by the very lovely Shannon, as we have in the past. We've got Sven on the podcast today, and we've got Caroline, who's from Broadwaters, and we'll do a piece about their involvement or her involvement in a little bit. I guess we could jump into our headline topic.
We could.
Or
this is over to you, really. It's something you know lots about, and I don't. So
it is. We've lost your there we go. We lost your video there, Sven.
No.
So we're always waiting for this killer topic to come up because, as you can imagine, trying to find something to talk about when it comes to rats can be difficult. When it comes to looking for news, we're literally digging deep in the internet trying to find the right topics to talk about. Well, for me, the perfect topic come up this week, and that is Doom Rat, which I don't know how many people have seen this or have heard of it.
Sven's laughing. Have you heard of it, Sven?
Yeah, but the way that he is training his rats is awesome. He's teaching them how to play a game, and they don't even know they are playing a game.
Thank you. I don't believe they do either.
Well, I've got. So the little thing is that you think you're good at games. Could you maybe be beaten by a rat? So
I could definitely be beaten by a rat.
Yeah,
I think some people could. A neural engineer called Victor Toff has been teaching his rats to run around an environment completely rendered in Doom 2. And he explains how he began to train his rats to play the cult classic 1990s FPS game with full cerebral control. So if anyone doesn't know, Doom is a cult classic game from the 1990s. It kind of set a lot of genres that are popular now. Right. And people of my generation grew up with that being the game that you wanted, that you had. It was banned in many places because of how violent it was. And so after years of training and development, Toff has succeeded after building a custom rig for his 3 rats, which he named after the creators of the game. He named the rats Romero after John Romero, Carmack after John Carmack, and Tom after Tom Hall, the 3 main developers who are responsible for bringing Doom to fruition. So the rats walk across a makeshift trackball and looking into a curved display in order to move within the game, while an arm is designed to hold them steady. Movements and actions are incentivized by providing the rats with a sugar water solution. Having initially started with just making very, very simple maps with straight lines, Toff went on to teach the rats.
He placed dead ends into it and the monsters afterwards. He first teach them the maps and how to interact with the maps and how to run, and afterwards he placed commands to combat and stuff. What I've read.
Yeah. So essentially, a giant mouse trackball. He's got them running on that and looking at the screen, and they're obviously navigating around as they could do in a real maze, reacting to enemies that appear in front of them by nodding their head up and down. So it sounds like a really, really crazy thing to even do, or why you would bother going this far. But the research is to further the progression of prosthetics within human computer control interfaces for people with physical impairments. So it kind of does have an end goal.
It has potential to,
It's about how your body reacts and how your movements are being interpreted by a computer and then turned into in-game movements.
And rat movements compared to human movements are obviously very small and light. So somebody with restricted movement, for example, could benefit from that kind of technology.
Yeah. What do you guys think?
It's what other applications it could have as well, isn't it? I mean, when anything kind of new like this comes out, I can't help thinking about where's it going to lead and what could come out of it in future. And I'm immediately thinking about like So it seems a bit sci-fi at the moment, but you know, you're thinking, could virtual reality be used for environmental enrichment in zoos? And you know, I've got visions of polar bears in like VR hunting seals in the water, and like we're saying, they don't know that it's not real. And you know, our best animal welfare law is that we have to try our best to kind of allow any animals in captivity to be able to, you know, just display their natural instincts. And there could be a way to do that in the future. It's crazy.
I think it does have that. That's an application I never really thought about. Actually, is that it could
Yeah, I
be
hadn't
used to
thought of it
enrich
like
animals.
What we were sort of discussing, debating during the week when this news broke was, do the rats know they're playing a game? Are their movements entirely conscious? I don't believe they are. You think they know it's a game, don't you?
No, I don't think that. I don't think. Go on, Shannon.
I think they're probably quite aware that they're engaging in an activity, but maybe not that it's a game. Because when you've got like reward systems and stuff, it's kind of like, I don't know, is he using like a reward system, or are they just kind of
But what I must say
they
is
get a food reward, don't they? They get a
so if it's like
drink.
a reward system, that's kind of essentially the same as like training a rat to do something. So it's the same as like apopo when they're training their rats to kind of follow trails and stuff. They're obviously aware of what they're supposed to do to get the reward, maybe not that they're playing a game.
Yeah, because if they believed it was a game, then the game itself would be the reward.
Yeah.
Like it is for humans.
Kind of like, you get that sense of achievement from the game. Edna's just got my ID.
I have two gerbils, and one is one who likes to get a treat as soon as possible when he does a trick good. The other one does the trick right and doesn't want a treat. It's so different.
Possibly there's some that would eventually learn to enjoy the game in the same way that humans do. But I think it's that perception. I mean, we get something from it because it's a way of stepping out from reality. For them, it's no different from walking around a maze.
They're performing a function in order to get a nice drink, can't they?
I mean, the write-up, I put a link to the write-up in the description, but by all means have a proper read of the research. It's quite technical of what went into it, but they said about how they needed to use a wraparound screen in order to fill the whole peripheral vision of the rat in order to encourage it to then move around as if it was part of that environment.
Yeah, there's been a lot of thought and I dare say a lot of money gone into this, but your idea, Caroline, of it being used in, other fields, and me thinking that people with limited movements could then access gaming. It's really got potential, hasn't it?
It's not about gaming. It's about having replacement arms and limbs that can react in computer, rather than you having to rely on your movements. You could have them move based on your
head nodding,
you wanting to move them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
See, I can't help thinking of it in terms of animal enrichment and haven't even really thought about the applications with disabilities in people.
And I haven't thought about the animal side of things, but you're absolutely right, Caroline, the potential to make zoos a more stimulating place for animals.
Enrichment's always the biggest challenge, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is, especially for those bigger animals that would normally have environments that we just can't provide at the moment.
I suppose
I think it's interesting because we automatically, like when we start training animals like this and for scientific stuff, we automatically go for like, how can we develop from this? And often it's a very kind of like secondary thought of like, how can we develop animal welfare from this?
Yeah, sure.
In the context of the very controversial subject of animal testing, we have somebody coming to work from an organisation called Understanding Animal Research, and they're very, very impartial. They just tell you how it's done, rather than saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. The scientist who comes in and does these things for school is absolutely brilliant. And he said that something people don't realise is that sometimes medications that they're developing won't work very well on humans when they go to the human trials, but they actually have veterinary purposes, so that the veterinary world can develop new medicines for animals from the ones that they test, which is something, again, I'd never thought about. I'd not thought about that perspective.
I think we're getting a bit of an echo from your end, Linda.
Hi, Linda. Can we hear you? We can't hear you.
I just muted Linda because there's a bit of an echo.
You there?
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
He really just muted me because he can't stand me. That's the
Oh.
Send you some headphones.
That is far from true. And your hair looks fabulous, Linda. It's really growing. It used to be so short, didn't it?
It did, yeah.
Send you some headphones.
Can she hear me?
I think it's all a bit slow. There's a bit of an echo.
A delay going on.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right then.
But,
what else have we got?
Well, on that, well, I mean, is there anything else on that subject? I think it's really fascinating.
It's a shame you've just joined us, Linda, because we're talking about, the potential uses of. We talked about the gaming rats. I don't know if you've seen that online. Creating. I mean, Caroline made a really good point about virtual reality environments for animals that are in captivity. The potential of that one day.
I just heard the end of that.
Oh, is there something wrong with our stuff? Or
No, I don't think so.
I think it's your connection, Linda. It's probably just lagging a bit. It's slow.
I just heard the end of that.
Oh, there is a delay. Yeah.
Delay. Yeah. Well, what we'll move on to the next subject. So we have a new mini-series coming up. We've been working on. First video in the mini-series is releasing tomorrow. There's about 5 parts to it, and it's mainly thanks to Caroline. And so for anyone who doesn't know, Caroline and her partner Emma have joined the Society as breeders. We did a post a while back on the group about it. And Caroline bred Emmons pouch rats for, it was around 10 years ago now, wasn't it, Caroline?
A long time ago. Yeah, a lifetime ago.
And so getting back into the game again, she had a lot of footage of Emmons back in, from around 10 years ago. And as far as we know, there's no Emmons in the UK anymore, Emmons pouch rats. There's not many in Europe at least.
We don't really know. It's
No.
It is a big unknown.
No.
So really sort of, quite special footage to have. So we've basically done a little mini series, just kind of giving kind of remastering some of Caroline's old footage and giving it a bit more context in places and seeing. So that starts from tomorrow, and it'll be released every other day for 5 parts. Highly recommend you guys check it out. There's some really good videos on there.
Yeah, we really, really enjoyed watching them, actually. What do you think, Caroline, when you look back on them?
I'm sorry that that's all there is. I think that hindsight's a wonderful thing, and back then we used to have real cameras, and it wasn't all smartphones and stuff, and we had actual cameras, and we used to, if you had your camera handy, you'd shove it on and take a bit of video of whatever your animal was doing, and you might get little clips here and there, and you'd share them on the forums, the old style forums, pre-Facebook, and you would talk about it. You'd talk about what was it, the content of the video. And I think that now we don't really, now we take a video and we subtitle it, and it's all edited, and it's all, encompassed in that video. There's no conversation attached. You can just go and watch somebody's video, and it's all there. Whereas, so I suppose my regret is that it's little shabby clips here and there that, you know, I would have documented more and taken more had I known that, you know, we might not see emmons again in captivity. I knew that they were the only ones in the UK and that there was only one keeper in Germany at the time, and that's all I've ever known over the years. And yeah, so I hope that that's not it, and that one day we can see them again.
It would be amazing. They're beautiful things, beautiful little things.
Yeah.
And we're really grateful, actually, Caroline, that you've got what you call shabby little clips to share, because they look fantastic. They were great then, and, you know, they're great now.
Yeah. I mean, we wouldn't have anything. I think it's such a shame. I mean, for guys watching who don't know the difference. I mean, visibly to look at an Emmings versus a Gambian.
Emmings.
I said Emmings.
You said Emmings, like lemmings.
No, I said Emmings. Emmings.
I like that.
They're slightly more slender in body shape. Slightly. Are you just gonna? Go on, you do it then.
Go on, carry on. Well, the best person to describe the difference, actually, Caroline, is you. A lot of people who are listening tonight might not quite know the difference.
Well, no, Lewis is exactly right. I mean, they're more slender in frame, and I always say, like, the difference is Gambians kind of look like a giant rat, and Emmons, to me, I suppose, to the untrained eye, they might look like the same animal, but if you meet them in real life, they are two-tone, whereas Gambians are like an agouti rat, so the colour blends down into the belly. The Emmons are like a mahogany brown, very brown, like a rich brown on top with a definite line, cream underneath. Their ears are a different shape, and their behaviour really is what distinguishes them. I think that they're very...
what's their behaviour like in comparison?
Yeah, different. I feel like they're uninclined to bite. They're much more... they climb. They're better climbers. Just softer-natured, really, and less unpredictable, I found. But obviously...
Placid.
Yeah, I only had sort of, we're talking like 7 or 8 individuals, but obviously we've known a lot more Gambians, so... you know, it's only a small snapshot of the Emmons character, I guess. But do
you sort of feel like maybe we got the raw end of the deal here?
Yeah, we've got the Gambianus.
Yeah, I always found the Gambians more difficult and wondered why. You know, why are Gambians so popular? Nobody's concentrating on the Emmons, but I think it was just lack of foundation stock. I think the foundation stock that we had was related. I think there's an issue with the species with relatedness. I think they know their own relatedness. They recognise individuals and they don't interbreed. And I think their social structure is way more complicated than any of us know.
When I watch Emmons videos, they're almost monkey-like.
Exactly. They are.
Whereas, you know, the Gambians are like a big rat, and I think for that reason they may have become more popular as this giant rat for the pet trade, for example, because they're big. People want the biggest pet, don't they?
People love rats, don't they? They love rats, and they love the idea of a giant one that lives for 8 years, you know, when they're used to the heartbreak of losing their beloved rats after a year or two.
And we're learning that that's not always true.
With the longevity, yeah, absolutely. Still something we're learning, isn't it?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope one day we do see them again and we do have a chance to sort of build them. I think it's probably more people power than just access to the species. Because there's so many people needed in that chain of keeping distinct lines going and keeping that unrelated. That
unrelatedness is so important for the species, and you know, how do you do that if they're not endemic to where you live? Is a big question, and that's always going to be the snag for us, because we're not just a bus ride away from Africa.
No, and things looked a bit brighter when we could import from Africa, but when that ban came in of, the import of African rodents, that really, stuffed it.
It's only going to get worse. Yeah, there were people talking about it quite ambitiously in Germany for a little while, but the likelihood of them getting any from Africa is just slim to none, really. They'd be relying on air travel, and they would get stopped at customs. They would get taken.
Oh.
So.
Bob's saying his feral mice seem to have gone. I know he had some visitors for quite a while.
Yeah, ours went under the bed. That's another story.
That is a complete different story.
Yeah, that must have been quite horrible.
It was horrific. We will tell the story.
Yeah, I guess it's kind of a funny story.
Yeah, this is just an offshoot, really. We had a smell. In the bedroom. I blamed it on Lewis's dirty washing because he just tended to let it pile up and then stuff the whole lot, cram it all into the washing machine.
Let's be fair that my washing doesn't smell like death, though. There's a bit.
Well, that's up for question, really.
Your washing smells like dead mice, Lewis.
There was this week, and it wasn't his washing. We sniffed all over the bedroom until. Eventually, Lewis tracked it down to being under my side of the bed, at which point I thought it might be my washing, but it wasn't. It wasn't my washing. So at like 12 o'clock at night, we couldn't stand the smell anymore. We've got a divan bed, so it is very, very close to the ground, but only just enough of a gap for a tiny, terrified creature that the cat had brought in, squeeze underneath there and rot. There was a rotten...
It died first. It didn't rot while it was still alive. Just
no. I dread to think when it had got under there and what horrible sort of death the poor thing had, but it was kind of stuck to the carpet.
Oh no!
So we picked it up, gave it a decent burial down the toilet.
Oh God, gentle.
Cleaned up, as best we could. Cleaned under the bed and everything. Put the bed back down. Smell was still there. We'd missed one, hadn't we? There was two.
Oh no!
We'd been half asleep and like, oh God, let's get to bed. We've got work in the morning. There was still one there. I didn't see that one though. What sort of presentation did it have?
Much the same, really.
Was it?
Yeah.
So you reckon they'd gone under at the same time?
Pretty close to each other.
We don't have mice in the house. The cat, well, bless her, she doesn't come very often, but when she does, she'll bring them in by the scruff of the neck. And the poor things probably die from heart failure when we find them dead. But
it's more her way of saying, are these yours? Did you misplace them?
She knows we keep them as pets. So, yeah. I found this in the garden, thought I'd bring it back in. There you go. So all I can think is that she's brought them up to the bedroom while we're asleep, let go of them, and they've scurried under the tiny gap and starved or something. So yeah, let's move on to something else.
How did it flush down the loo? A lot of tissue paper.
Oh, it was just a skeleton with a bit of leather over the top. There wasn't any substance to it.
No, because the rest of what left of it is all stuck to our
carpet. It's all munched into the carpet.
So I'm so glad that's now gone. That smell. But yeah,
we are going to get a new carpet.
What a disgusting.
It's been the catalyst for actually, getting a new carpet now. Definitely.
You want to move on to the next subject?
We should do, really.
So.
Has everybody else on the chat got this screen up?
If they choose to.
I'm just wondering if anyone else would like to cover one of these stories.
I'm on my phone, so I've got access to one tiny screen.
Right. Okay. Anyone else want to have a read through?
Also on my phone.
Yes. Your phone.
Let me see. I can close it and have a look quickly.
Why don't you read through it, Claire?
Because I can't see.
Oh, yeah, your glasses. Your glasses.
Oh no, I can't. I'm on Google Drive, obviously.
Ah, okay.
It's all right. Claire can have a read through. I've done a nice write-up.
Okay. Right.
I'm going to move the window here.
Yeah, if you could. Yeah, that would be brilliant. Thank you.
God, the logistics.
Okay, gene-edited single-sex litters. I don't know if it's coincidence or not, but when we have litters here, when the ladies present us with a litter, they're almost always female heavy. So
it's just a coincidence because this is different.
This is different. This is genetic engineering, if you like, to be sex selective. BBC News Science was only released today, and it regards a study on mice. The scientists were able to use gene editing technology to create 100% male or 100% female litters of mice. Could be a huge breakthrough in a number of fields. I wonder why. The technique uses CRISPR-Cas9 based gene editing, and it's documented in the academic journal Nature Communications. So they deactivate a gene which is involved with embryo development, and it kicks in when the embryos develop around 16 to 32 cells, and they result in single-sex litters. It's all the detail I've got at the moment, but I might read up on that. It's interesting.
It is interesting because
Yeah.
it has quite a few things.
Yeah, they discussed two major
kind of
applications.
scary,
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that.
Technology and genes together.
No,
Genetic technology.
completely
Genetic
fascinating, but also
modification.
absolutely terrifying.
Yeah, so the
I haven't
applications
had
for the
chance to
technology,
read
more effective control in developing animals for lab testing. I suppose that if they're looking at particular reproduction issues, they do want all male or all female animals.
It was the two main things that they brought up, which was that if they're doing studies, they sometimes need all male or all female, and it does mean that sometimes if there's a mix, you have to take and cull the sex that you didn't want from a litter. So it means less have to be born that are of no use in the study.
Yeah, they
definitely has its uses. Like, it's definitely, you can see why it's
Yeah, they go on to talk about the unpopular process of culling little male chicks, which results in millions of cocks.
I was
Can you tell that I was going to make her read this, and thus I tried to get the word cocks in there, just because I knew you wouldn't be able to keep a straight face. Start again, because I didn't quite get it.
Completely remove this is the first time I've read it, by the way. Completely remove the unpopular process of culling male chickens, which results in millions of cocks killed every year in the UK alone.
I love the way you can smirk at something so hideous.
Which is, I know, smiling about it. It is hideous. All those poor little cocks going to waste. It's awful. However, there would be a large number of hurdles to jump through regarding welfare and legislation. You know, there's ethics there to consider. And again, the guy that comes from understanding animal research to talk in schools, they go through all the legal background of things like this, how much legislation is involved before they can carry out these quite, potentially serious experiments.
The way they kill the male chicks is quite hideous. And so from that point of view, I guess it's a good thing if they could sort of apply it further.
If it could be avoided at all, then yeah, potentially it precludes suffering and waste of life.
I wonder if in theory it could be used to control things like the mouse plagues that they get every few years in Australia and so on.
Yeah, I mean, the footage of that was absolutely hideous. I do remember watching that a few weeks ago. Or flying through the air, and horrible.
I guess it's probably another entire issue if you're introducing these edited genes into a wild population in some way, just in case they got out of the wild population and could, in theory, cause like a complete crash if they got further afield. But certainly in farming, I mean, it's one of these. There's been talks of should you be able to genetically engineer a cow to produce less methane because it's better for the environment? Well, you laugh, but it's
we've gone from cocks to cow farts.
Well, it's the same thing. If you can make these changes, on one hand, it is a risk, and it is something that I think a lot of parties would be a bit sort of uneasy about. But ultimately, if it's going to lead to benefits, as long as it's controlled.
How are they going to engineer them to produce less methane when what they is grass, and they've got 4 stomachs, and I dare say they don't keep their mouths shut when they chew, so they'll take in a lot of air. So how?
I saw that this
Wow.
is a slight offshoot, but it was something that I read today, which is really unfortunate, is that when you look at carbon footprint of animals, because as we common knowledge that beef produces the largest amount of carbon per kilogram of meat produced. Animals that are kept in the worst conditions, i.e. chickens that are kept in small cages, and animals that are not allowed to free range, produce less carbon. So by having them out, having them free range chickens, you produce more of a carbon footprint than non-free range chickens, and it's actually quite a sad fact, really.
Yeah. But the animal, as an individual, has a better life.
Yeah. So
I won't buy battery farmed meat anymore. I just don't do it. I pay the going rate and get free range now, and with only 2 of us, it is actually affordable. It's not so bad.
The thing is, if you look at agricultural animals, they may not have had gene editing, but they have been genetically modified through breeding for centuries, really.
Yeah, some of the meat pigs are appalling. I mean, the size of them, their hearts and their bodies must really suffer.
Yeah, same with dairy cows.
Abnormally,
I mean, they were never created to give that much milk, really, or chickens. And I mean, if you go to wild chickens, they lay 1 or 2 clutches of eggs per year in the same way that most wild birds do. They've been basically genetically modified.
300 a year.
Yeah, I mean, that's borne out by the amount that, people who keep them as pets in their garden, they're producing, Andy and Jack used to have so many eggs, they used to give them away, and I know that my friend Marie has chickens as well, and can't use up all of the eggs for the family, and they end up giving them away.
I still feel like on the subject of genetics and technology in the same sentence, I just feel like watching Jurassic Park, because at the end of the day, like, if we didn't get the message, just because we can doesn't mean we should.
No, that didn't end well, did it?
No frog DNA.
No, stay away from the frog DNA.
But
there was something that was interesting in the article. It was saying that there's obviously like a lot of history in breeding, especially when it comes to farm animals, breeding cows and breeding sheep, and they are like bred as different varieties for different purposes, and there's a lot of culture that's gone into that over the years. And the disadvantage with that sort of gene editing is that you might have a farmer who's spent his entire life working towards something, for some scientist just to go flip a few switches and achieve the same thing, and basically make what he did, or his family might have done for decades or even longer, centuries, pointless.
And you still have to ask the question, where will it end? I think whenever anything like this is discovered, that you have to ask the question, where will it end? Because are we going to see in years to come people being able to choose the gender of their own babies, and the latest craze is gender reveals, and in future are we going to be seeing gender picking parties where granny and granddad get to choose whether they need another grandson or a granddaughter, and
do you know
aunties and uncles? I don't want another niece or another nephew, thank you.
We have to change our identity cards where there's not any male or female on the identity card.
So like genetically agnostic.
Yeah. A gender neutral.
Has that come through then in
Gender
Europe?
neutral, yeah.
Yeah. I know that people do identify as many things now, and we're seeing an awful lot of people who are choosing their own gender, if you like, coming through the hospital. Young people.
Yeah.
But that makes me think about Mr. Garrison from South Park, and
South Park.
Oh yeah.
I just always think of the poo. Is it there's a poo in South Park?
Mr. Hanky.
Yeah.
Mr. Garrison went from male to female and from female to male again, with reproduction organs from a rat
No,
who made his wiener.
I think I'll just stick with Mr.
They
Hankey.
did some genetics with the mouse, and
Right.
the mouse grew a penis on his body,
Uh-huh.
and so he got his penis back.
Oh,
That was Mr. Garrison's story. I don't know.
I see. It's
It
probably
seems
more
a bit heavy
politically.
Well, I
for a
vaguely remember
cartoon.
It's less
Yeah,
politically
but
risky just
that's
to talk
mouse
about poo,
genetics
really.
and mouse DNA, and yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I ever really sat down and watched them.
I didn't know. I didn't watch a lot of it at all. All of the movie, which was co-written by some Monty Python people. The songs in that are brilliant. They're so funny. Anyway, let's move on. Calendars.
Calendars.
Ah,
This
yeah.
Linda, do you want to talk about the calendars? Can you see that on your screen?
I can't see anything on the screen except us, but the calendars we have, I will double check how many we have left because I think I may have miscounted before. But we've definitely got all the A4 calendars are gone.
Yeah.
And we still have some A3 calendars available. And if you hang on a sec, I'll confirm exactly how many we have available.
The website says we have 8 A3 calendars left, but yeah, numbers may vary. We'll have to recheck.
I'll just check.
Yeah.
I'll be back in a minute.
It was just a kind of a reminder that, you know, if anyone wants to grab a calendar, if they haven't grabbed the calendar, by all means, grab one.
You know, I just buy them for decoration now. Like, I feel like I'm adult enough to own a calendar, but
There's
not
enough going on in
necessarily
your life
adult
to
enough
fill
to
it.
actually use it. So
You've just cut off the date part and kept the pictures, haven't
Yeah.
you?
I love a calendar. I love that sort of whole analog thing, but then I am in my mid-50s and we always use calendars. I think more people use the calendar on their phone now.
I don't even
or
use
on
that.
Outlook.
I just memorize everything and then I wonder why I forget everything.
Oh
I'm
no,
like,
I can't do that anymore. No.
I have to admit, I
I don't think it works, but it's my method.
I use my work Outlook calendar for everything. It kind of does the job.
Sometimes. Or me, as your
well, yeah, you are my personal PDA. Really.
personal assistant. Did you remember to do that? Do you know we've got this coming up? Oh no.
No, exactly. I don't need to remember stuff.
So
What about you?
yeah, I'm really sort of hyper organised and the calendars help. What I do is I write down if I've seen any rats having it off on those calendars. You know what I mean?
There will be like so and so and so and so sex today ? And then there'll be like babies ?
Yeah,
so you
well,
basically have a rat bonking calendar.
I have a rat sex calendar. That's right. Yeah. So when I've seen them getting up to no good, or even I'll come on to this in a little while. Now and again, I'll come downstairs and see Alice and Gus awake, and they just sort of freeze on the spot and have this guilty look on their faces when I come down from work, and I'm like, I know you've been doing something. Don't look at me like that. I know what you've done. And they're like,
just been caught.
And they look all shady. You know,
It's funny
you just know.
I think
Gimli
that's
used to
their
do
permanent
that.
state, though. I'll walk into
Sneaky.
the living room at like midnight, and they'll both be just stood, and it's like they've both been caught doing something they really shouldn't. They're just frozen, looking at you like nothing.
It's mostly in the
Nothing's
night
going on
they do this.
Gimli always did that when I walked in and he was sort of shagging his IKEA rat. He used to freeze and then he used to
You didn't
sort of
see
look at
anything.
you to say, you didn't see anything, nothing to see here.
Yeah.
It's funny because right up until I walk in the room, they'll just be making so much noise. And then the second I walk into the living room, it stops and they're just like frozen in the middle of their cage, like nothing's happening.
And it's an actual Gambian behaviour, isn't it? They all do it. They literally all do that. Freezing.
Yeah, you try having like 12 in the house and you go downstairs and you turn the lights on and they all stop and there's this silence.
Yeah.
And as soon as the lights go off again, it's like, ugh.
Oh, don't you bring back memories.
Yeah, you're on your way there, Caroline, with your lot.
I know, right?
You won't be stopping at 4. It won't stop
Oh.
at 4.
Naya's
Well,
5.
5, little Naya.
Yeah.
Could do the baby news now, I guess.
That happened quickly.
Yeah. We had we had quite a hiatus really, where we didn't have a lot of babies over the summer, which was quite odd because that is when they're meant to be most active. But
You'd expect that.
our ladies never got the memo, and we've always had more litters in.
It's usually late autumn. They seem to be most active, which is
It is getting on for Christmas time, winter. The first baby that was born here, Sally, was born in the dead of winter on December the 29th. We're all familiar with little, her name escaped me there, Dee and Sirius, who had 2 little girls who are 3 weeks old today, and they are absolutely adorable. Their eyes cracked open last night. So that's Naya and Lulu. I hope everybody's been able to follow their progress on Facebook, because almost every night I've been putting up a little snippet of something about them.
Yeah, because we've taken a picture every day of them.
We're actually taking a picture in the same place, in the same lighting, every day, with the aim of doing a day 1 to however many days video and mounting all those pictures up so that people can literally see them grow up, which is lovely. But a bit
that'll
of
be
news,
great for the Instagram as well.
It really will, yeah, Shannon, good idea. It'll be great. So that will come up obviously when we've got all the footage that we want. But what we didn't say is that when I turned the page actually on the calendar, I discovered that, that guilty look on the faces of Gus and Alice, I was actually right in thinking they'd been up to something, because I'd scribbled on the December page of the calendar possible Alice and Gus babies, because literally I did have that feeling that they'd been up to something. And I was right, because 3 days ago, Alice graced us with, 3 healthy babies that we weren't really expecting because we hadn't seen it happen. And one that was remarkable in that she was a little premature baby. All I can think of is that the fertilized egg had been retained and implanted in the womb 2 weeks, a week later than the other ones did. Perfectly formed. But if anybody's actually watched any programs on TV and they see babies that have been born at, say, 24 weeks, human babies, she was just like that. She was absolutely perfect in every way.
I debated putting up a picture, but I think
we didn't think so.
It could be something that people could find a little bit disturbing, and I found it really, really hard when this baby was born, because she was alive when she was born.
Yeah, she was that very dark colour. She was transparent. Her skin hadn't developed properly.
Her skin was sticky, and she was tiny. She was like the size of I'd say even smaller than a fancy rat baby.
Oh yeah, half the size. I mean, she weighed nothing in your hand. She was smaller. I've got very small fingers. She was smaller than my little finger. She was an absolute miniature, but she was breathing and moving and perfectly formed, and for about 20 minutes alive.
I just held her
because you knew there was no chance.
There was no.
She wasn't big enough to sustain any life, really. But she was warm and she was held and passed away peacefully.
Just
really.
too underdeveloped to survive, really.
Yeah. We often forget the miracles of modern science, and the fact that our human babies that are born too soon have a lot of intervention. They are literally
there's a
the machines breathe for them. A machine feeds them.
Well, there's a point, isn't there, that where they can't absorb the nutrients they need to thrive and survive.
She would have been too tiny to feed. Her mouth, we looked at her little mouth, absolutely minute. You couldn't have sustained her. And while it's sad that she's not with us, it was a real privilege almost to have seen that happen. I know that you've been breeding rats for a number of years, Caroline. Did you ever see a little one that had been delayed that was born in a litter?
The only premature animals I've experienced have been kittens and goats.
Right.
But not that premature. I mean, you know, the photo, I understand why you don't want to sort of share the photo, but yeah, I mean, she looked amazing. I said to Emma, you know, she just looked like a little embryo, didn't she? She was not really quite out of the embryo stage, and no, it's fascinating to see.
Though. She didn't have that large head and tiny legs. You know, she did look in proportion.
It was like a little fancy rat baby.
Yeah,
but her lungs worked for 20 minutes, though. I mean, that's amazing.
She wasn't gasping for breath. One of the boys the biggest one out of the litter was born, and he was blue all around his muzzle. His chest was contracting, and he must have aspirated during the birth. He must have breathed in fluid or something like that.
Maybe he came after and he was stuck for a little while.
Oh, it was in for a penny, in for a pound, really. I thought, no, you're not dying on me, you little treasure. We don't have as many boys as girls, so that's a boy. Someone's going to love him. You're going to live. And I did what I've seen people do on the Yorkshire Vet. You know, I tipped him upside down, held him, patted his back with my middle finger, literally tapped him, which would have been thumping, and he screamed blue murder, and he actually cleared whatever was in his chest. He's
brilliant that he made it
now. So what we'll do, I think, is 3 days. They're doing very well. Alice is, as usual, a fantastic mother, and if I can get them out while she's having a nice meal, we'll get some pictures.
Do you think the little one was implanted later, because there doesn't seem any other sort of reason why?
No. Yeah, I do.
Well, I think this is the thing. If there's a question of she stopped developing, she wouldn't have been breathing when she was born.
No. So obviously the mother's gone into labour, the placenta's detached along with the other babies, and she's been born before time. Yeah, they grow so rapidly, they develop so rapidly. I'm wondering if she was perhaps a week or so behind the others.
It's hard to tell.
She didn't look embryonic, particularly. You know, the stage of development she was at, she was perfectly formed and just needed to grow and put on fat.
We might be able to share the picture on the group, on the Facebook group, but put it into a comment. It's not something I guess everyone. It's not disturbing by any means.
Well, I put the sperm plug on there,
which is far
more revolting than what she was. She was beautiful.
Yeah, something like that. I think just because it's more that it could make someone sad to know.
Yeah,
it's one of those. It's very interesting, but you can see why it's quite upsetting.
It's the reality of breeding. You really do have to have a
stomach for it,
a strong mentality, knowing that things could go wrong, and God forbid, you could lose one of your dolls. That's not happened with us. We've been incredibly fortunate in that the girls are strong and healthy and very well nourished, and they do a sterling job with the births, don't they?
They do.
Very clean births. You don't see the mess that you see with fancy rats. There's no evidence it's took place, really.
No, I think it's proved. I mean, she was born to be a mother. She's a brilliant mother. She's happiest when she's got babies.
Yeah.
She's very attentive to them, and she gets very, very sad when she's not having babies.
The irony is that we decided it was Alice's time, and this week, probably the day that she had them, I was going to call the vet and book her in to have a spade so she could be retired. She had other ideas. So every time we think about this happens, and you see that animal and the way she is with her. She does know. She's a little cow. You see the way she is with litters. She is absolutely in her element as a mother. it's hard to describe unless you're there.
Well, you
And you
compare
see
to
the
some does, I
difference.
guess, and they'll go in, they'll feed the babies, and then they'll want to be out. And it's almost like, I feed them because I need to, but that's that. But Alice
Dee's functional like that. She's a good mother, but the way Alice is with them, the affection.
She's on them all the time. She's bruxing to herself. She's licking them. She just lives to be a mother.
And the happiness, she's absolutely suffused with contentment. And even when she comes out to get her food and things like that, I can stroke her and tell her how good she is, and she responds, and it's wonderful to see. It will have to come to an end at some point. She is 4 in April, and she's given us lots of beautiful babies. So it's that
they do regulate
ethical
their
versus
own.
moral.
They regulate their own breeding well, don't they? So, like, mothering instinct aside, they do regulate their own breeding well, because I think that because they pair up and they're quite female dominant. I think the girls really decide, don't they, when they will be having babies. So
they don't. I mean, Alice and Gus, despite some of the horrible rumours that have been spread at times, Alice and Gus do not breed back to back.
No.
Alice is very choosy about when she decides, and we'll have to speak.
You can't breed them back to back.
No, they'll do it when they want to. You can't do that, nor should you. And we've been really lucky in that. Alice has remained very healthy, and Gus has remained the perfect gent and left her alone.
He does. He's pretty lazy until he wants some, and then he'll give it a try. But she just tends to kick him, and then I think
she puts her bottom on the floor, so he'll make all of these advances, and she'll plonk her bum on the floor and just not move. And she's a very strong girl. I wouldn't argue with her if she had her bum on the floor. I wouldn't be trying to do anything otherwise with her either. No, she's fiery. Have we got anything else to talk about?
That was all the big topics.
All the biggies, and it is 10 to 9. So if anyone else on the on screen's got any news, or if anybody in the chat window's got any questions, please pop a question on there, and we'll look out for that. Doo-Wop, Emma Marie, and whoever else. Have we got anyone else there?
Yeah, I'll scroll up.
We did have Cheryl on there. I know she's been poorly, so I, wishing you well, Cheryl. I hope that you're recovering and feeling a little bit better. Wendy Moran, we've got on there.
Pixel 8.
Pixel 8. Who is that?
Well, you're not going to know who everyone is.
No.
Pixel 8 will be Lucian.
Oh, really? Oh, hello, Lucian. It's really nice that you've joined us. Thank you.
I doubt if he's still watching.
Can we see the girls, please?
Oh,
who wants the girls?
Emma
Who said
does.
that?
Can we?
Do you know what? It might take a couple of minutes. I'll have to knock up some food for Dee, but I'll go and.
John, you got to do them. I've got.
We've got 7 minutes.
When we were talking about Doomrat, I did have a video of. I did have a video of that, and I forgot to show it.
Did you?
So I can maybe get the video up.
Lucian is still here. Hi, Lou.
Let me move into the. If I share my screen. I don't start playing. I haven't shared yet.
Is it Edna or Tuka that's talking?
Yeah, I was going to ask that. I didn't know, I didn't know which one it was.
Let me see. No, never mind.
There we go. So here is the little setup when the rat was learning to. Watch its head.
I think it's amazing.
Wow.
So because he's realising there's something in the way, he moves his head up.
Headshot.
I think it's
Ben's
really,
impressed.
So I think it started off with just straight corridors and ended up going with various randomized mazes, and he was able to work his way around that. So, oh, actually, there's another. So what he knocked up a video showing essentially what the rats are seeing based on the rat's vision. Let me reshare.
Oi! Toka, what have you done? No!
I think they've got the colours a little bit off there because that's more grayscale, and I know that rats can see colours.
No! No!
They're basically colourblind, aren't they? Red
No.
colourblind. What is
Yeah,
Chica doing?
similar to dogs, really. Sounds like
What
two
did
kids
she
having fun
do,
there.
Sven?
No!
Face. You got it.
She knocked over my keyboard. She got the cigarette from 2 meters high. She likes to climb, and yeah.
Did we lose Shannon?
Oh,
We did.
Oh, yeah.
good. No, don't bite that.
This is entertainment just watching that. I think.
Did she hit puberty or something? I don't know.
They're hard to carry when you get this big. I can't hold two in one hand anymore.
Oh.
You're going to make Emma cry now, Claire.
Oh,
I'm getting nipped to death coming up the stairs with them in the hands.
That's all
Little
right.
sods.
It's worth it.
Look, you sit there. I've been peed on as well. Thank you.
It's also worth it.
No.
What are you doing?
you're having a clean.
Just sitting there having a little wash, look.
Put you up to there. Oh, you're licking.
She's
Okay.
peeing everywhere, look. Now, we've got peepers here.
Naya and Lady Lula.
Yeah.
We don't know which is which yet because Caroline and Emma are going to come to ours on the 27th and let the girls choose.
Oh.
Look at the eyes.
Oh, Gus's nose.
I know. This one actually does look a little bit more like a daddy.
You're bruxing, madam.
And the other one's a bit more like a mum at the moment, but look at those eyes. Oh,
nose?
yeah.
I think the nose is what makes people say they look like wombats.
She's got a big lump of a muzzle, this one. Swapsies.
You are the heavier.
This one I'm liking. She's a real little cow bag. She's very lively.
She's licky, though.
Nicely.
Like the naughty
Ooh,
one.
Is she biting you?
she's wriggling.
Oh.
Come on, sweet. Oh, we'll let her calm down a bit.
She was being fine with me.
Okay, I'll give her back to you. There you go.
No.
This one is a bit more placid.
So you're
no.
more happy sitting on me.
Ah.
See, I'm holding her and now she's licking.
Oh, look. Yeah, she didn't want me tonight. Can you hold her up to the camera a little bit so they can see?
Oh.
You're only opening one eye today.
Yeah.
Oh.
But she's a cheeky little... She's darker in colour. She's a cheeky little Watson. She's absolutely lovely. She was out walking around by herself in the cage last night when I popped out to do the food. She's like, what are you doing? Oh, there you go. You can sit down there, sweet.
She bruxes when I don't know if this picks it up. Holding up to the microphone, see if it picks up when I'm bruxing.
So no, I'm not going to do it now.
Can't hear it now.
Every time I
No.
it's just about every
They've
time I
got
pick her up.
incredibly thick fur coats now. This little one's boiling hot, aren't you? I'm trying to climb everywhere. Do you want to hold her over the table, honey?
That's
Do you
fine.
want to
Just
hold
sit
her
on
over
me.
the- Clever girl. Clever girl.
3 weeks and 3 days. I've just checked.
Oh.
And you counting the days.
Countdown.
It
Yeah.
won't be long.
Hold her.
Emma's definitely going to cry when she meets them.
I really hope so. That'd be great.
That would
There
be
is a
great.
video. There's a video of Annette Reynolds meeting Floki for the first time, and her sister Jackie actually filmed it, and it's just magic. The look on Annette's face, honestly. All those sleepless nights, worry, or the cost of keeping these animals in that moment, it's just totally worth
for
it.
sure. Yeah, I know
And
what you
you'll
mean.
experience this, Caroline, you do with the fancy rats, but it's absolute magic. It really is. I can't describe how lovely it is. People say, oh, don't you get upset when they go? And it's like, no, don't get upset at all. It's fantastic, you know. Those little life-changing scraps of blood and bone in your hand, you know.
Yeah.
They're just amazing.
And you know what they're going to mean to people, and how the positive impact that they're going to have on their lives, because rats do. Either kind of rat.
Yeah, and it's also a counterculture for the heartbreak of the animals that are sold for extortionate amounts of money in pet shops.
Yeah.
Or by unscrupulous breeders who are kept, or the parents are just kept in filth, and the little ones aren't treasured or
all you can do is lead the way. You can only show a different way of how things can be done.
You can't stop people breeding them and selling them. And
look at Louis.
We don't make it easy for people to adopt the ones that we breed. It's not a particularly easy process because we don't want them back. We haven't got the room to take them back if they're not happy with them. We've got to make sure that they're going to the absolute best owners, and I'm glad to say they do.
Yeah, and I think that Gus's story is enough, isn't it? Gus Jr., he is enough to really show anyone his story and say, look, if you're not sure about your level of commitment for the next potentially 7 years, just look at this boy and what he's gone through. Moving. Yeah, moving's difficult.
Just don't do it. He's a lovely lad, and he's in circumstances, etc. We won't sort of go into the rights or wrongs, but he was 2 years old. 2 years old, it was too big an upheaval for the poor lad. But he's having some great times now with Emma. I mean, Emma was born to do this. She just didn't know it. Isn't she fantastic? She's
amazing.
An absolute natural.
She is a natural with them, yeah. I mean, she won't ever say, she won't admit that herself, and she might not even see that herself, but I see it. I don't think she does. She is amazing with them.
To see what she's done and how she's brought them around is just pure magic. And she's been bitten and she's gone, okay, then we'll try again tomorrow.
Yeah. And Gus has bitten her loads of times. And not only that, but I mean, she was in tears yesterday through just lack of sleep. 2 horrendous sleepless nights. And, still she loves the big old oaf, even though he's like squawked his head off all night for 2 nights. And, he's lucky to have her, and she'll say she's lucky to have him. So
he's a
match made in heaven, isn't it?
Beautiful boy. You were going to say something, Linda. What was it?
It wasn't. It was unconnected, really. I was just looking at Sven and thinking we should clip his bit out as a video on its own, because all of that. No, don't do that. And crashing and banging is exactly what it's like to own a pouchie. It's kind of.
That is our every evening. That's why we're all sat here.
Get out of there. Don't do that. Put that down.
Yeah. Some nights all I seem to say over and over again is no, leave that. No.
I mean, what you see here, this beautiful little scrap, it's not by any means the full story at all. You still hurt when you bite, though, don't you? Yeah, you do. It's week 3, and that is the week of being nipped.
Oh yeah, the biting starts now.
They have to be
testing
between 3 and 4 weeks. They're pretty demanding in that respect. You have to teach them not to bite.
and the attention they need and the time out, it goes
They
up.
do need a lot of input, and there's still no guarantees, but we really do our best.
Well, we've gone over our hour now,
Have we?
so we should really sign off.
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, we've got lots of hungry mouths downstairs, and
we do.
Sally will be waiting.
We will. Well, thanks for coming, guys, and for everyone watching at home, for who's left watching at home. We'll see you again in a month's time. I don't think we've got one before Christmas, so I think the next one will be into January.
Yeah. First Friday in January.
We may end up fitting the destruction. We may end up fitting something in for Christmas, maybe a Christmas live stream of some description.
We could pop on for between Christmas and New Year, I guess.
Yeah. We'll play it by ear, but thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye,
Thanks
everybody.
everyone. Bye.